My brother told me I'd never amount to anything at my high school graduation. Now he's applying to be my janitor and doesn't know it's me. Before the story continues, kindly subscribe to support us. And while you're here, say hi and tell us where you're watching from. We cherish every comment. I'll never forget standing on that stage in June 2015, clutching my high school diploma with sweaty palms while scanning the audience for my family. The Detroit Community Arts Auditorium smelled like cheap perfume and anticipation. My mom sat front row, dabbing tears with a crumpled tissue. My little sister Keisha waved frantically, her braids bouncing. But Marcus, my older brother Marcus, he sat slouched with his arms crossed, face twisted like he'd swallowed glass. When I descended those stairs, floating on dreams of Howard University and a psychology degree, he intercepted me outside by the parking lot. "Congratulations, I guess," he sneered, tobacco on his breath. "Though I don't know why everyone's making such a big deal. You barely passed, Simone." My stomach dropped. I'd graduated with a 3.7 GPA. Before I could respond, he leaned closer, his voice dropping to a cruel whisper meant only for me. "Let me tell you something, little sis. You ain't special. This diploma." He flicked it with his finger. "Worthless. You'll be back here in 2 years, pregnant and broke, wondering where it all went wrong. You'll never amount to anything. I'm just the only one honest enough to say it." The words felt like acid on my skin. This wasn't sibling rivalry, this was assassination. People streamed past us, laughing and taking photos. Nobody heard him destroy me on what should have been my proudest day. Growing up, Marcus was everything I wasn't, at least according to Grandma Rose and half our neighborhood. 6'2" by 16, star point guard, charismatic smile that made church ladies swoon. That boy's going places, they'd coo while I sat invisible at the kitchen table doing homework. What they didn't see was the Marcus who'd steal money from mom's purse, blaming it on me. The Marcus who'd accidentally destroy my science fair projects the night before they were due. When he was 17 and I was 12, he convinced everyone I'd broken Grandma's antique vase. I was grounded for 2 months. Years later, Keisha admitted she'd seen him do it. "I was scared to tell," she whispered. "He said he'd make me sorry." By 18, Marcus had a basketball scholarship to Michigan State. The whole block threw a party. By 19, he'd lost it, caught selling weed in the dorms, grades in the toilet. He came home in disgrace, but somehow it became everyone else's fault. The racist coaches. The jealous teammates. His unsupportive family. Meanwhile, I'd learned to make myself small, to celebrate my achievements privately. When I won the essay contest, I didn't tell anyone. When I got accepted to Howard, I whispered it to Mom in the kitchen. Marcus had taught me that my light made him feel dark. So I dimmed myself trying to keep peace. Howard University became my sanctuary, a place where Marcus's poison couldn't reach me. Washington, D.C. felt like a different planet, full of black excellence, ambition, and people who celebrated success instead of resenting it. I dove into psychology, fascinated by family dynamics and toxic relationships. Ironic, right? My professor, Dr. Angela Morrison, became a mentor. During office hours one crisp October afternoon, I finally broke down and told her about Marcus. "Family scapegoating," she said gently, sliding her glasses up her nose. "It's a pathological dynamic where one person becomes the target for a family's dysfunction. The scapegoat is often the strongest one, the one who threatens the family's dysfunctional equilibrium by trying to break cycles." Something cracked open inside me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the problem. Marcus called once freshman year, asking to borrow $300 for rent. Mom had given him my number. "I'm your big brother," he said when I hesitated. "Family helps family." I sent the money. He never paid it back, never even said thanks. That was the last time I answered his calls. Mom would guilt-trip me occasionally. He asks about you, she'd say, which we both knew was a lie. Marcus only asked about me when he needed something. I focused on my studies, worked 2 campus jobs, and slowly built a life where I mattered. After graduation in 2019, I landed a position at Reynolds & Associates, a mid-size consulting firm in Chicago. The starting salary was $45,000, more money than I'd ever seen. I sent Mom $500 that first month and cried in my studio apartment afterward, overwhelmed by the fact that I'd actually made it. My manager, Patricia Chen, saw something in me. "You have emotional intelligence," she said during my 3-month review. "You read rooms, understand people. That's rare and valuable." She wasn't wrong. All those years navigating Marcus's moods, predicting his explosions, learning to manage fragile egos, I developed skills that translated directly to corporate client management. By 2021, I was senior consultant. By 2023, I was director of operations. My team loved me because I actually listened, advocated for them, protected them from toxic bullshit. I'd lived through toxic bullshit. I knew what it did to people. Marcus, meanwhile, was still in Detroit doing God knows what. Mom's updates were vague and increasingly worried. "He's looking for work," she'd say. Or, "He's got some things in the works." Translation: Marcus was 32, living in Grandma's old house since she passed, bouncing between under-the-table jobs and unemployment. I felt a strange mixture of sadness and vindictive satisfaction. Then March 2024 changed everything. Reynolds & Associates acquired a struggling Detroit-based firm, Lakefront Consulting, planning to restructure it completely. They needed someone to relocate and oversee the transformation. "We want you," Patricia said over coffee at her favorite Loop Cafe. Full VP title, 20% raise, complete operational control. Turn that office around. Detroit. The city I'd fled. The place that held all my ghosts. "I need to think about it," I said, my coffee suddenly tasting like ash. But Patricia knew me too well. "Simone, you've been running from something since the day I met you. Maybe it's time to run towards something instead." She was right, and that pissed me off. I took the job. Signed the papers. Accepted the $160,000 salary. Became the youngest VP in company history at 27. The Detroit office was a disaster: poor culture, high turnover, outdated systems. But it was mine to fix. I arrived in August 2024 with a mandate for complete overhaul. Within 2 weeks, I'd fired 3 managers for harassment complaints they'd ignored. Within a month, I'd restructured the entire hierarchy. The staff was nervous but hopeful. "You actually care," my new assistant, Jennifer, said with surprise. "The last VP just collected a paycheck." Caring was easy. I'd spent my whole life caring too much about people who didn't deserve it. Now I could care about people who did. October brought the seasonal hiring push. We needed maintenance staff for the expanded office space, 3 janitors, 2 groundskeepers. I'd delegated the hiring to HR initially, but our new HR director, Michael Santos, insisted I review final candidates. "You're the one who has to work with everyone," he reasoned. "Your culture, your call." I was reviewing applications one Thursday evening, half-focused, when I saw the name. Marcus T. Williams. My coffee mug froze halfway to my lips. The address was Grandma's house. The birth date matched. The emergency contact was Lorraine Williams, Mom. It was him. My brother was applying to be a janitor at my company. At MY Company. Where I was the vice president. Where I had complete hiring authority. The application was sparse: high school diploma, sporadic work history, no references. He'd misspelled maintenance as maintenance. The cover letter was 3 sentences. I am a hard worker who needs a job. I am good with cleaning and fixing things. Please hire me. 7 years ago, he'd told me I'd never amount to anything. Now he was asking me, unknowingly, for a job mopping floors in the building I ran. The irony was so sharp I could taste blood. I sat there for an hour, just staring at his name, feeling a dozen emotions I couldn't untangle. Then I did something that surprised even me. I put his application in the interview pile. Why are you interviewing this one personally? Michael asked, eyeing Marcus's application with obvious skepticism. His resume is thin. I know. I kept my voice level. But sometimes people deserve a second look. Trust me on this. Michael shrugged. He'd learned I had good instincts. What he didn't know was that my instincts were currently screaming at me to either run away or burn everything down. I wasn't sure which. I scheduled Marcus for the following Tuesday at 2 p.m. Sent the email myself from a generic HR account. Prepared the small interview room on the second floor, neutral, professional, with a window overlooking the Detroit River. I told no one who he was. Monday night, I couldn't sleep. Keisha called around 11. You okay? You sound weird. I hadn't told her about the application. Hadn't told anyone. Just work stress, I lied. Hey, how's Marcus doing? Keisha sighed, that particular sound that meant trouble. Girl, I don't know. He's struggling. Lost another job last month, something about showing up late. Mom's worried sick. She won't say it, but I think she's been giving him money she doesn't have. Guilt twisted my stomach. But then I remembered his words at graduation. His cruelty. The systematic way he'd undermined me for years. He's a grown man, I said, harder than intended. He makes his choices. I know, but, Simone, he's still our brother. Was he, though? Tuesday at 1:55 p.m., I stood in the interview room, checking my reflection in the window. I'd chosen carefully, a navy pantsuit, hair pulled back, minimal jewelry. Professional armor. Power clothes. At 2:03, there was a knock. Michael opened the door. Ms. Williams, your 2 o'clock is here. Marcus walked in, and time did something strange. He looked older, deeper lines around his eyes, gray threading his temples. His clothes were neat but worn, shirt pressed but fraying at the collar. He didn't look at me, not really. Not yet. Mr. Williams, this is our VP of Operations, Simone Williams, Michael said. She personally reviews all staff hires. Marcus's head snapped up. Our eyes met. I watched recognition dawn slowly, then crash over him like a wave. His face went through 5 expressions in 3 seconds: confusion, shock, disbelief, embarrassment, and finally something that might have been fear. Simone. His voice cracked. You can call me Ms. Williams in this context, I said smoothly, gesturing to the chair across from me. Please, sit down. Mr. Santos, that'll be all. Michael left, closing the door softly. The silence was deafening. Marcus sat slowly, like the chair might collapse. He couldn't stop staring. You work here. I run this office, I corrected. The entire Detroit operation reports to me. I let that sink in. Now, let's discuss your application for our janitorial position. Marcus looked like he might throw up. Good. I didn't know, I had no idea, he stammered. Of course you didn't. I opened his application folder, clinical and detached. You haven't contacted me in 6 years. You don't know anything about my life. He flinched. I continued, reading from his sparse resume. You've had 8 jobs in 5 years. Want to explain the gaps? I Things have been hard, Simone. The economy, you know, Ms. Williams, I corrected again, sharper this time. And the economy has been challenging for everyone. That's not an explanation for this pattern. I could see him sweating. The golden child, the one who'd always landed on his feet, reduced to this. Part of me felt sick. Part of me felt powerful. Why do you want this position? I asked, the standard question. Marcus swallowed hard. I need the job. The money. His voice dropped. I need to pay my rent. Mom's been covering it, and she can't keep. He stopped, seeming to realize he was exposing too much. I see. I made a note, letting the silence stretch. References. Your application lists none. I can get some, my last boss, the one you stopped showing up for. His mouth opened. Closed. I'd done my homework. Called around. Marcus's reputation in Detroit was trash. This is just, he ran his hand over his face. This is crazy. You made it. You actually made something of myself. I finished, ice in my voice. Yes, Marcus. Despite your predictions. The words hung between us like a blade. Marcus's eyes went wide, he remembered. Of course he remembered. Simone, listen, about graduation, Ms. Williams. Right. Ms. Williams. Look, I was messed up back then. Angry. I just lost my scholarship, and seeing you succeed when I'd failed, he trailed off. So you decided to crush me on my graduation day. My voice was steady, but my hands trembled slightly. I pressed them flat against the desk. You told me I'd never amount to anything. You told me I'd end up pregnant and broke. Do you remember that? I was a stupid kid, you were 19. Old enough to know better. I leaned forward. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I was 17, Marcus. 17 and terrified and trying so hard to make everyone proud. And you, my own brother, tried to destroy me. His face crumpled. I know. God, I know. I've thought about it so many times. I wanted to apologize, but I was too ashamed, and then too much time passed. 7 years, I said. 7 years of silence. You didn't call when I graduated college. Didn't call when I got my first job. Didn't call when I made director. You called once, to ask for money. Marcus looked at his hands. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Simone. I was jealous. I've always been jealous. You were always smarter, stronger, better than me. And I couldn't handle it. The confession should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt hollow. Here's what's going to happen, I said, pulling out a fresh form. I'm going to make you an offer. Not because you deserve it, but because Mom loves you and I love her. Marcus looked up, hope and shame warring on his face. But there are conditions. Non-negotiable conditions. I slid the paper across. You'll start as a probationary employee. 6 months. You'll report to facilities manager James Crawford at 6 a.m. sharp. You miss one day without documentation, you're done. You show up late twice, you're done. You bring any personal drama into this workplace, you're done. He nodded frantically. I can do that. I swear, I'm not finished. My voice could have cut glass. You will not tell anyone I'm your sister. Not co-workers, not Mom, not Keisha. As far as this office is concerned, we have no relationship. You don't approach me. You don't speak to me unless I speak to you first. You don't even look at me unless it's absolutely professional. Am I clear? Yes. His voice was small. And Marcus? I waited until he met my eyes. You're going to be the best damn janitor this company has ever seen. You're going to show up early, work hard, and prove that maybe, you're capable of being more than the person who tried to destroy his own sister's dreams. Tears were sliding down his face now. I will. I promise. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet, I said. You haven't made it through day one. Marcus kept his promise. I watched him from a distance, always from a distance. He arrived at 5:45 a.m. every morning. He cleaned meticulously, fixed things before they broke, volunteered for the jobs nobody wanted. James Crawford, his manager, raved about him in our monthly operations meeting. That Williams guy is solid gold, James said. Haven't had someone that reliable in years. Nobody knew we shared a last name. Nobody suspected. I kept my word too, didn't acknowledge him beyond professional nods in hallways. But I watched. I saw him eating lunch alone on the back loading dock, staring at the river. I saw him staying late to help the evening crew. I saw him slowly rebuilding something that might have been self-respect. Keisha called one night in December, ecstatic. Marcus has a job. A real job with benefits. He's been there 3 months and hasn't missed a day. I don't know what happened, but it's like he's finally growing up. I murmured something non-committal. Mom called the next day. Baby, I don't know if you've heard, but your brother's doing good. Real good. I'm so proud of him. The word stabbed. She'd never said she was proud of me like that, with that particular relief in her voice. But I was learning that some battles weren't worth fighting. That's great, Mom, I said, and meant it. Maybe. One evening, working late, I found Marcus in my office hallway, repairing a faulty light fixture. He saw me, immediately looked down. Ms. Williams. I'll be out of your way in just, take your time, I said, surprising us both. January brought performance reviews. I called Marcus into my office, the first time since the interview. He entered nervously, standing until I gestured to the chair. Sit. I opened his file. 6 months of perfect attendance. Commendations from 3 different managers. A letter of appreciation from the night security team. You've completed your probationary period, I said. James wants to promote you to facilities coordinator. It's a $3 raise and supervisory responsibilities. Marcus's eyes went wide. Really? Really? I closed the folder. You've earned it. For a moment, we just looked at each other, really looked, for the first time in 7 years. I've been wanting to say something, Marcus said quietly. I know the rules, but I need to say it. What I said at graduation, it was the worst thing I ever did. You deserved to celebrate, and I stole that from you because I was bitter and broken. You were right to cut me off. You were right about everything. I felt something loosen in my chest. I didn't give you this job out of kindness, I admitted. I gave it to you because I wanted to watch you fail. I wanted proof that you were everything you accused me of not being. I know, he said simply. But you gave me the job anyway. That's more than I deserved. We sat in silence. Finally, I said, accept the promotion. Keep showing up. Maybe someday we can be something that resembles family again. But Marcus? We're not there yet. He nodded, understanding. As he stood to leave, he paused at the door. You amounted to everything. I'm sorry I couldn't see it before. After he left, I allowed myself one moment, just one, to cry. Not for what was lost, but for what might still be saved. Sometimes justice isn't revenge. Sometimes it's just the satisfaction of proving you were always